Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear. I'm Scott McNally, and with me, as always, is Skip Hill and S2H. The show is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. Our code is ADVICES, and if you use our code, you can get some additional savings. Plus, it will let them know that you support what we are doing here at the network. Today, we're going to talk about a little drug called Modafinil in the intro portion of the show. I want to catch up with Skip and Scott. We've got to talk about some leg extension machine stuff, because I saw Skip made a post about those. And then from there, we've got a load of questions from the boards. Plus, we got shout outs from you guys. If you guys want shout outs, just drop us a what do you call that? What do you call that? It's a comment?
Message?
A comment?
Shout
yeah.
out.
Drop us a comment on the thread here. We already have a bunch of shout outs that are going to be coming out. And yes, Scott, we are talking about Modafinil. Anyway, what's up, guys? How's it going? Scott, you made it on time. It was like 100,000 degrees in Texas out on the shooting range today, right?
It's been really hot. We went from like kind of cool weather, and then all of a sudden it was 90, I don't know how much, but the humidity and the temperature are about the same.
Okay.
So just trying to get adjusted, even if you're from here, you got to kind of adjust.
And Skip, you were
just cut him off.
Well, I thought he was done.
No, he is done.
Sorry.
Actually,
Sorry.
he was done.
I'm good.
We got you back just from the gym, right, Skip?
Just from the gym, and then I'm in a different place right now. First, am I centered?
Hey, no one cares about the gym. Cut him off, McNally. Just cut him off.
Scott won't cut me off. So I'm in a different spot with Zuri now. Our relationship has advanced.
Yeah,
it's only been 2.5 years. So I get home from the gym, and I'm in a hurry, because I text you on my way back from the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I left that part out. Like, I'm hurrying, and then I left out because I'm on my way back from the gym. Anyway, I get in, and I'm running around, grabbing my protein drink and shit like that, and I throw on my sweatshirt, my hat. And Zuri decides she wants to roll over and expose her belly to me.
Oh, no kidding.
So, obviously this was a bonding experience. It has only happened a couple times. So I was like, well, fuck Scott and Scott for a second here. And I had to rub her belly and give her scratches and all that sort of shit. So we're moving forward in our relationship. Now, do not cut to Scott, because he doesn't need to have his little sarcastic, shitty input.
Look at that. Since we're doing video, he can be sarcastic without saying anything.
Hey, Skip,
out of that shadow, there'll be his AR or something poking out of the top. He'll do something stupid. Just wait.
Listening to your bestiality stories is just not part of my day. So.
It's bonding.
Yeah. Can we move on? Can we go to something else?
You know what? Let me throw this at you. I found out, and this is totally odd, but you know what? I got to throw this because it's been bothering me all day. I'll be very quick about it. All right?
Yeah.
I had a friend after high school. Well, I was kind of in high school, but after high school, we spent a lot of time together. I was over at his house a lot. When I met my wife, I was really good friends with him. I just found out today, and I couldn't believe this. This motherfucker is in prison for 17 years. He went into the Marine Corps. He was a fucking cool dude, man.
Yeah.
He did some shit to his wife's fucking kids, man, for like years and years and years.
Like
and
molested them?
Huh?
Like molested them, you mean?
Yes.
Fuck.
What I understand is one of them, how he got caught was one of them got pregnant, bro.
Oh, God.
I was like,
holy shit.
And I had heard rumors, but I'm like, no. That's just bullshit,
Right.
But I couldn't get a hold of him. I tried to track him down, like on Facebook and stuff, and tried to track his mom down. His mom was really cool. And I was always at his house. He was at my house. He was a fucking cool dude. And then I was just like struggling to process that. I'm like, you have to be fucking kidding. It's one of those things that you hear and you can't even. And one of our friends sent me the link, and it, his inmate picture popped up.
Wow.
And his charge. I was like, oh my God, man. So I was tripping over that today.
That's
totally
fucked
off
up.
topic, I get it, but fucked me up. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That's messed up, man.
Oh.
How long was that going on for? How old were the kids?
I guess, and this is the part that's just horrible, but from what I understand, and you know how rumors are, okay? So
Right.
sometimes the deals are fucked up, or the details are fucked up. But I can say this, even if it's 70% correct, because I saw the charges.
Yeah.
And I had heard from a couple people. And actually, the information came from his fucking attorney, and his attorney was his friend, somebody who he went to school with. So, I mean, damn, right? It's like, that's pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So I guess since the girls were real young,
Man. Dude, that's going to screw them up for life.
Yes. And he pleaded, he pled guilty, not that because he didn't want to put the girls through the trial. And I'm like, put the girls through the trial, bruh. Like, what the fuck did you already put them through?
Yeah.
It's just an odd thing to all of a sudden become empathetic. I don't like what, anyway, just found that out before I went to the gym. So it was on my brain. And it's just been kind of bothering me. And his mom, I'm torn because I'm like, I want to contact his mom and, check in with her just to see how she's doing. Cause it's been a while. He's been incarcerated since like 2010. Okay. But yet at the same time, I don't know if I want to drudge up, because as soon as she hears from me or sees a message from me, she's going to be like, oh my God, this is about Mike. He's going to ask about Mike. And
yeah.
So it's like, fuck, I don't want to hit her up, but yet I do, because I'm curious how she's doing. Anyway, that's my drama for the day.
That's crazy, man.
Oh, shit.
Well, the karma about that is pedophiles don't have a very good time in prison. So
that's what I was too, but I'm thinking this guy's and I'm not saying that this, he ain't a pussy. He's a fucking ex-Marine. He graduated at the top of his class from Marine boot camp in his school. He was in code, Morse code. He's smart as fuck. And he can't be doing too well. He can't.
Man, yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. Will you ever see that, on that note, you can do like the sexual predator thing on your computer.
Uh-huh.
You can look that up, and you can see there's one that lives not too far from me, like half a mile, quarter mile away. But if you go to like some of the apartment complexes, not like in this area, there'll be like 7 of them at this complex. 5 of them at another.
Yep.
Other thing is, you got to look to see what those guys are convicted of, because sometimes it's like indecent exposure because they were peeing behind a building while they were drunk or something, and then boom.
There are exceptions that slip through, and God forbid you have to live with something like that, because people vilify you just like you see them on the map. Everybody else does too, and they keep track of them. Oh shit! Which is obviously a good idea, but sometimes you can't even rent an apartment.
Yeah.
With a history like that. So they have incredibly limited options. They can't be within a certain radius of schools, things like that. It's rough. I mean, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but when you have something that is borderline, like as an indecent exposure or something like that, it can ruin your fucking life, man.
Yeah, that would be bad. On the other hand, the people that deserve it, I don't know if there's any real fixing them either. You know what I mean?
No, I don't either. But you know what? I don't want to get off on that topic, only because I have worked with kids for a long time from sexual abuse backgrounds and things. And, kids usually re-victimize and things like that. So, there's just such a huge gray area, because on the one hand, you got to watch them, because they're likely to reoffend or re-victimize. At the same time, we want to know too. We want to give everybody a fair shake and be fair and say, hey, you're out of prison, or you're out of, whether it be therapy or some type of, residential treatment or something, especially when they're kids, and hope that, they understand the difference and understand that it was right or wrong. I mean, it's hard to explain to a kid that, well, this happened to you and it was wrong, and it's wrong. You can't do it to somebody else. Yeah. Logically, on the surface, they understand that, but it's more complicated than that. And I don't want to sound like I'm sympathizing, like I'm this huge sympathizer.
No, yeah.
But you don't want to be tagged for the rest of your life if you do something when you're 20 and have it ruin your life when you have turned your life around.
Sure.
There's that too. So that's a different podcast.
We were talking a little bit, or I was earlier, to someone about the post you made. You have this picture, which I just put up. It's of a leg extension. They have, and I noticed that. So most of the leg extensions nowadays connect at one end. They don't connect to the central point, and then you put one foot on either side of that. And I'm with you. So tell us, what was your deal on this?
Well, first, I'm OCD.
Okay.
So there's that. I can't stand anything that is crooked. Sometimes it's a platform on a hack squat. And you know what? It's not on the new stuff. It's the old school stuff. So that leg extension is an old Icarian, which Icarian for the most part is pretty good. Until you get those goddamn to come from one side. And over time, because those pieces of equipment are 20 or 30 years old, they just wear after a while. And a lot of it can be taken, not taken up, but the slack can be taken up if you make sure that it's tightened down. And when you tighten it down, you got to actually wiggle the arm to make sure that it's tight. That can take care of a lot of it, but it's still going to be crooked. So what I did was I took one of those gym towels and I just folded over, a few times. First, I'll line up the pad with the pad on the seat to see how crooked it is, and that tells me how much I have to. How thick I need that pad, and then I feel it out on warm-up sets. And then, of course, if you train at the same gym, then you kind of know the equipment, or you get to know the equipment, and you know what you have to do. When I go down to Miami Gym, theirs is perfectly straight.
Really?
Yeah, so the newer ones I don't know if they built them better. I don't know. But it is Icarian is notorious for having those. Same with the leg curl. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
it drives me nuts.
So I see in that picture now where you have that towel over one shin, basically, to make it even. So you don't think that it would push the same if you know what I mean? Like the other leg might be up slightly higher, but you think the other one's still taking the blunt of the movement?
Well, I know I do, because I'll end up more sore on one side.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding.
See, what you have to do is you got to take into consideration too that even if it's perfectly even. Yeah. You're not ever perfectly even either. So, sometimes people have commented on my stance, say on an angle leg press platform where, one foot will be a half inch higher than the other. Those are things that you have to adjust for. If you're paying attention and you're paying attention to feel, you're going to be able to tell, because everybody's got some type of, I don't want to say their legs. I don't even know if it's true that one leg on everybody is longer than the other. I don't want to go that far, but I will say that by the time you get through the ankle and the hips and your lower back up to your shoulders, everything can't be perfectly even. There's compensation going on with every individual out there. So I always found that my right leg would get more sore, and then ended up after years, it was a little bit more developed than my left. So I started playing around, especially when I got into having lower back problems. I wondered, lower back problems or injuries are usually systemic in some way. You got a knee problem, you got an IT problem, you got an ankle problem, and then it ends up manifesting in lower back at some point, I think. I don't think that's all lower back injuries, but I think more than what people tend to think.
No kidding.
So, yeah, I do. I think on that leg extension, it could be argued if you think about it, and this is what a lot of people do. They'll kind of make their knees a little bit cockeyed, or they'll shift their hips. I don't want to do that, because I've already got a vulnerable lower back. I'm not shifting anything. I don't want to do that. So I would just rather that they come out even. And if you play with it while you're warming up, you can tell if it's even or not as you get into your bigger sets. And like I said, I line up the pad, the swing arm pad, with the pad on the front of the seat. Yeah. And I see how crooked it is from there, and that gives me a pretty good idea, of what I need. You could take what am I looking for? Like a knee, not a wrap, but like a knee sleeve. Yeah. They kind of think you could double those over. It might be a little bit more comfortable, and it's a little bit bigger, because the towel, if you're not careful, you end up folding it so small. You got to be careful that it's not too small, and you're trying to, pull a little balancing act there on the front of your shin too. So, anything like that though can work. And the response to that post was huge. So a lot of people apparently feel the same way I do.
It's funny, because I never thought about it until you mentioned it. Like, I've always dealt with that, and I've noticed it, and I've wondered, but I've never thought about it until you mentioned it.
This is how I look at it. If you're the type of person that has to have 45-pound plates put on the same on both sides, and you let a crooked leg extension go, shit, come on. I'm questioning your OCD-ness, all right?
It's funny. I think it was Gazzy posted a picture of this house with S2H. He says it's a house with, I can't find it now. It's on one of our pages. It's a house with a big Confederate flag in the picture window. Like the whole picture window is just a Confederate flag, and it says "Recording live from S2H's house."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any Confederate flags. Sorry.
Liar.
No.
No.
You got one on a flagpole in the back of your '76 Chevy.
I
Empty
did. I did.
in the back.
I did have a '76 Chevy Monte Carlo once years ago. Yeah. That was my first car ever.
Got a duck head on the front for an emblem.
Well, listen, guys, we have an outpouring of questions today. Between the questions we have at the forum and the questions that we have through this Facebook post, we got a lot of stuff. So before we get to that, though, I wanted to talk modafinil. I totally forgot this. Like a few episodes ago, the term or the idea of modafinil came up. And you guys were both like, yeah, it's good. And Skip, you were like, oh yeah, I think it's better than something else. And S2H, you said it was better, like similar to Adderall. Anyway, we're like, oh yeah, we'll talk about that some other time. We have now had like 3 different people say that they wanted to hear more about modafinil. So I thought it'd be a great place to go. I mean, I looked up the Wikipedia so I can give you guys some science behind it, or in some history behind it. But for the most part, I want to hear experience and what you guys think as far as how it applies to bodybuilding. Either of you are welcome to start us up here. I know, Scott, you said, now I know you have a prescription for Adderall, correct?
Maybe.
Okay. Okay.
It allows me to listen to Skip longer than 5 minutes.
How does modafinil compare to Adderall?
It's the diet soda version.
What does that mean?
I mean, I would say it's probably weaker.
Modafinil is weaker.
Yeah, it's
not the same compound.
The end result of them is supposed to be the same, but the way it gets there is different.
Right.
Okay. Like modafinil. Modafinil is actually the active part of Aradnofil, which like research sites used to sell. Some of the obscure ones over the years, but it works on the GABA neurotransmitters, that kind of stuff, and so it actually kind of makes your brain want to stay awake is essentially what it's doing by manipulating it, and then Adderall is an amphetamine, so it works on your dopamine and it blocks some serotonin, other way around, yeah, dopamine, serotonin. And then what's the one starts with an N?
Norepinephrine?
Norepinephrine, yeah. So, it's the end result's kind of supposed to be the same, but the way it gets there is completely different. I'd say Adderall, being an amphetamine-based drug, is probably more addictive.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the military uses modafinil.
Really?
They use it for fighter pilots. They use it. It's been used a lot since 9/11, especially for like special operation units and stuff. They're on the Elvis plan. You got the Ambien, and the modafinil, and the Ambien. I mean, you can get an Ambien on a military aircraft in about 2 seconds. So.
See, and that's the thing. I would not, like, I've used modafinil. In fact, I've got some modafinil tablets right here in front of you, but and I've only taken it a few times because I feel like I got to take it so early in the morning, or else, like, if I go to bed at 11, I found myself like 10:30 at night. I found like a box of old photographs, and I just like I'm going through and I'm sorting them out. I'm supposed to be like unwinding, getting ready for bed, but I'm like, and I am getting tired, but at the same time I'm like organizing stuff and things are getting cleaned and all this shit's still going on. I'm scared that it's going to keep me awake, so I want to have like an Ambien on hand if I'm going to take that stuff.
Yeah. Modafinil has a longer half-life than even XR Adderall. Now, when what's the other one? Vyvanse came out. That one has a longer half-life than the Adderall XR. So, it's kind of a little bit of a hybrid of them. No, I'd say that tolerance on both of them build up like anything, but modafinil is supposedly not supposed to build up its tolerance as fast. I don't know. My experience with it's pretty limited because it's kind of. I mean, it's okay, I guess. And since it's working on GABA and this stuff in your brain a lot more. It has like a rounder scope of things it works on in the brain. I don't know exactly how. Some people, obviously their brain chemistry is different, so they're gonna react. I would say people. This is my experience. People take modafinil, either works really good or doesn't work that great, because it depends on your brain chemistry. Or like an amphetamine-based drug is going to work.
Okay.
Regardless for most people. But children do not take these without supervision.
Yeah.
So a couple things I know, and then I want to hear Skip's thoughts. Here's just like a little bit of a background on it, and I'm just looking at off the internet. So in 1998, modafinil was approved for medical use in the United States. It's classified as a Schedule IV controlled substance due to concerns about addiction. In the United Kingdom, it is a prescription-only medication. It's available as generic, which is definitely cheaper. It says, this sounds cheap to me. It says in the United States, the wholesale cost per month is about $34.20 in 2018. It says in 2016, it was the 284th most prescribed medication in the United States. Provigil being the main brand name, among others. Medication to treat sleepiness due to narcolepsy, shift work sleep disorder. It says, or obstructive sleep apnea, which I have. It says in OSA, continuous positive airway pressure is a preferred treatment. So my CPAP is what they gave me. Interestingly, I went in to the doctor because I get some weird narcoleptic stuff, and there's a chance that I might have some sort of narcolepsy. But get this, you can't be diagnosed with sleep apnea and narcolepsy at the same time. If you have sleep apnea, they will not diagnose you with narcolepsy. So you can only have, in order to get a diagnosis, I'd have to be cleared of not having sleep apnea, which is never going to happen.
Well, no, all they have to do is say that you have sleep apnea induced sleep disorder, which is, I mean, who gives a shit what they call it? That's all and then they can give it to you.
Oh, okay.
They just can't call it narcolepsy.
Okay.
And give you the prescription. Well, They can because they do whatever they want, half the time. But yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, there's no patent on it. 'Cause I think it was first described in France in like the 70s or Germany, one of those two countries. So it's a generic, so it's going to be cheap.
Okay, I know in areas of Europe, it's over the counter. So there's websites that just sell the stuff straight up, and it's not super expensive. I used to know a couple of the sites. One of our listeners actually directed me to one that was pretty damn good that had like 3 different brand names available, and they just ship the stuff to you as much as you want, as often as you want. But Skip,
well, I heard if you get the Aradinafil, because it's only got about, I think, a 70% bioavailability, you just take extra of it, it works the same. That's what I heard.
Okay.
Someone told me. A friend told me.
You wouldn't know personally is what you're saying. Okay. Fair enough. Skip, you were talking about using it in a bodybuilding context, right?
Yeah, my wife's been using it. I've been feeding it to her like Pez, basically, since January, yeah. Honestly, she has been using it. And she has obstructive sleep apnea anyway.
Okay.
So, central sleep apnea. So she's not going to benefit from having some kind of like a CPAP or anything like that. What her apnea is her brain doesn't tell her to breathe while she's sleeping. And I had a lot of fun with that and told her their brain doesn't tell her to do a lot of shit, but she didn't think it was anywhere near as funny as I did. She was diagnosed with that about 3 years ago. So there isn't a whole lot you can do other than you're constantly run down and you're not getting enough sleep and not getting enough quality sleep, and you just adjust to it basically.
What is it that she has exactly?
It's central sleep apnea.
So what does that mean?
Central and obstructive. She doesn't have an issue with her throat, like not getting enough oxygen at night from something physical.
Okay.
It's just basically she did 2 sleep study tests.
Yeah.
And it just determined that her she just wouldn't breathe sometimes, and it wasn't because of any sort of obstruction.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I got
So
This isn't induced by being married to you.
I don't know. It could be the pillow overhead. I'm not real sure.
you.
But anyway,
Are we recording this? Yeah.
so she doesn't listen. Unless she's actually home. She might be on the other side of the door. I don't know. But she won't listen to the podcast itself. So when I had, the opportunity, I thought, well, I'm not getting lean right now, so I don't need it. I wouldn't, that was my main motivation, because she was starting to diet again, and she doesn't really like using Clen because she works face to face and has to do contracts and writes and things. And she says that it sends off a bad signal when she looks like she's having an epileptic seizure.
Yeah. Clients don't like that, huh?
No. And I don't think, honestly, anybody really notices it, but you notice it.
Right.
And you think everybody else notices it. So anyway, I had the opportunity to do it, and I explained it to her. I looked into it a little bit because I didn't know very much about it. And I thought that it would be kind of, beneficial as well, obviously, for her sleep. It's as beneficial as it has been to lean her down or to help her lean down. It's been, even if it didn't have those properties and it didn't help her get leaner, she will continue to take it because it's that effective. It's funny, we were talking about the half-life earlier. Once you take it consistently for a month or two, you get a real good idea of how long it lasts. For her, it's about 15 hours. Now, she runs on probably only 6 hours of sleep now, a solid 6 hours, and she's pretty productive. I mean, it's pretty crazy how awake you are. Yet at the same time, and I know Scott touched on this, but I just want to be real clear with people, it's not the same compound as Adderall, which he was saying. It's not a stimulant.
No.
They don't really truly understand exactly what the pathways are. It's basically speculation and best guess scenario.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously with GABA and things like that, but they don't fully understand how it works. And it is a compound that just people came to figure out. Bodybuilders are pretty good at finding that side effect of being huge or being lean.
Right.
How we got to, well, this narcolepsy drug makes me leaner, but it does. I mean, it's pretty fucking impressive. And for those people who don't tolerate stimulants very well, and a lot of people don't, man, is this a good find. And
It's
she had
amazing,
only
yeah.
been using 100 milligrams.
Okay.
Typically these tablets are like 200 milligrams. And you say 100 too? Yeah. It's been really, really effective. And I don't know. I've been looking into it a little bit, but I don't know how long she can take it and how long, if she's supposed to take a break or not. I've talked to a couple nurses who have said that she can take it long term, but I don't know, what the possible ramifications are for that, or if there are any. From the way I understand it, there's not a lot of side effects. This is a pretty good, it appears to be anyway, a pretty good drug with not a lot of negative shit along with it.
It's like the limitless drug too. It's like,
Yeah, there was something about that movie or something about being productive. And I tried to get her to explain it to me.
yeah.
Have you used it, Scott? Both of you have used it, right? I haven't used it. Does
I
it
have
make
a
you?
friend of mine that has, a very good-looking friend of mine has, that looks like me.
So,
He's talking
did
about
he-
me. He must be talking about me because I've used it.
Well,
Did he say that there was any type of not euphoria, but there's something. My wife was trying to explain it to me, and she just laughed and said finally, she's like, I can't explain it. I just don't want to not take it.
Hey, I want to
I
jump.
thought it-
I want
I
to
thought
jump
it
in
sucked.
and just give a shout out to IFBB Pro Tracy Mason because she's watching right now. She's in.
Hey.
She lives in the UP, by the way, Skip.
Oh, okay, very cool. People live in the UP.
I know, right? Anyway, sorry.
She's
We'll
one
do,
of 7 people that live in the UP.
we'll do more shout outs later. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Skip. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I thought Modafinil sucked.
Really?
But, that's like saying that, I was drinking, Crown Royal Special Reserve for 6 months, and then someone gave me a bottle of Bobby Williams $9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I didn't. It was okay. Nothing great.
It's different. I agree. It's different than Adderall is, and for me, Adderall is a quick bring you up type focus happens fast. And modafinil, the second time I took it, it was after a red eye, and I hardly slept through the night. I took 200 milligrams when I got home, and I was getting ready to start my day. I was like, I'm just going to take modafinil. I'm going to go to work. And I fell asleep like 2 hours later. So it doesn't keep me up like it could, like a stimulant would, you know? Like I was
really?
still, I don't know why. I must have been really tired, but you would think it would wake me, you know, back up, keep me up. I know that's one of the uses that there's a lot of business people that will use it, where they have to do a red eye and then give a speech the next day. And so they take the modafinil, and then they're on, and they're 100%. They're ready to go. So,
okay, but is it a compound that you're supposed to take on? Not supposed to. I know you can take it. It's not. It's a take it every day sort of compound, right?
We just lost you.
You just went.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But I'm good now.
You're good. It's an everyday compound?
Well, what I was wondering was, can it be used infrequently, or are you supposed to take it every day?
I don't think you're supposed to take it every day. I don't think you need to. I mean, for our purposes, you know.
ED, take it every day.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about both, let's say both benefits. I mean, if you're going to take it to get leaner, I can certainly see how every day would be a good idea. And at the same time, for people who have, I mean, my wife is a fine example, and people in prep. I mean, you know, if your day is so chaotic and it's so long and you're exhausted all the time, I know, you know, just like I say, speaking for my wife, and I've had a handful of clients use it with pretty good results as well. I mean, nothing that would say, I didn't have a client say, no, this doesn't seem to work very well. I don't like it. They all tend to like it and think that it works quite well. Now, that's not a handful of clients, though. It's not more than a handful of clients. I don't have a lot of experience with it.
I'd say this is not as good as appetite suppressant as
yeah, I would agree with that. And 5-ants as well.
There's best way to put this. So there's a lot of female competitors in this area, kind of in the state. That's all they want is Adderall. Any of the other ones, they say they suck.
Yeah.
And it's like the thing, you know, that's like their cutting thing. And they anything else is, this is coming from a guy I know that trains a lot of females, and he's like, they don't want nothing else. They just say it doesn't work as good. IR Adderall is what they want. Kill the appetite.
Yeah.
Okay, but do they want it just because it has that benefit, or?
Yeah, kill the appetite.
Okay. But I mean, as far as making you leaner, do you think that?
It helps you diet, because you don't, you know, if you're in a caloric deficit, you're not going, but it makes you not want to eat out of your diet because you're not that hungry.
Right. No, I get that. I understand.
And it gives you energy and all that.
Bonus. Yeah. But I'm just talking about getting leaner.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, it's a secondary part of it. It's not. I mean, none of it's going to get. I mean, they're both CNS stimulants. I mean, you take enough Adderall, you'll freaking sweat to death because your blood pressure will go up. But I mean, it's that particular one is what they prefer, because, you know, it helps them not. You know, they don't cheat on their diet because they're not hungry to begin with.
Right. Well, I understand, and that's a huge bonus. All I'm saying is, at least from my perspective, the limited experience I have seen modafinil work every bit as good as Clen.
Well, I mean, Clen's not. I mean, Adderall's like way above both those. I mean, you can kill some cardio on Adderall like nobody's business. You're like, 3 hours? Yeah.
I got a question.
15 on the Stairmaster. Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you guys.
So I hear.
Is it worth the fact that you're literally using speed now?
Yeah, there you go.
You're literally using amphetamine. Where do we draw the line, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Where do you draw the line?
Well, a lot of us don't draw a line. We can start.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the children's choir here, McNally. Well, I mean, I would say if you took 100 competitors that have used any of these or a mixture of them, and you said, give me one that's like Adderall IR, unless they get the shits from it real bad, which some people do.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Never heard that.
Yeah. It can be rough on your tummy.
Huh. Do you know that, Skip?
No, I'm too focused on him using the term tummy.
Tummy.
Well, I just took a dip, Skip. Do you still dip, or did you quit still?
I'm not even answering
that. I'm just asking. So anyway,
I quit, but I can't stay away.
Oh God.
Copenhagen.
I'm weak.
So good.
I lack.
I would say this is just my opinion, but I would say the vast majority of them would say Adderall, IR.
I know there's also some. There's different analogs now of modafinil. I've seen that AF modafinil. There's a couple other ones that I've seen. Some of them are even longer half-lives. And some of these things are not illegal because they're kind of like they took modafinil and just changed it around a little bit, and now they've got this new stuff. So,
Right.
You ever hear about people using those, Scott?
I've heard rumors.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's research sites that sell all those. They used to, at least. I'm not into that stuff anymore. I'm really not, so I don't know. They used to sell them.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the ones you see on bodybuilding boards. There used to be some off-the-track ones that sold all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah.
And I know there was one in Arizona that got busted and got shut down. I read about that was one of the ones back in the day that was a really big one that was always kept all real hush-hush, But, but sometimes, they just make shit up, too. You're like, what the hell is this stuff? And you're like, Wikipedia, Google it, and it's like, this stuff's not even on, It's just some make-believe thing. But the French one, it's French, is called Modafinil, or DIOL at the end. Mm-hmm. And so that's actually their version of it. That's the original version of it.
Really?
If I remember correctly. Yeah.
Huh.
Spelled kind of similar, but I think it's a DIOL at the end of it. Modafinil or something.
I'm going to pull up the shout-outs here, and I
need a shout-out.
You need a shout-out? Shout-out to, first of all, then, shout-out to S2H. I'm going to go to the Advices forum, though, or the Advices page, and find out there what we've got. We'll do some quick, I'm on Skip's page. I'm stuck on it right now. But I'll go over there. We'll do some quick shout-outs. Then we can get to the show. We got a bunch of questions. Is it expensive, Skip, modafinil?
When you go to a source, because a lot of sources will have it, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
Here's what I do. Here's what I recommend. Can I say that? Mm-hmm. Here's what I would do if I wanted. I'm going to put it as a hypothetical.
Yes.
If I wanted, say, Cialis.
Yes.
Or I wanted modafinil.
Yes.
Hydrochlorothiazide is a very good one because it's difficult to get unless you go to your doctor. It's not difficult to get from a doctor, which I never understand.
Right.
Go to your doctor. Almost any doctor will give you a script for hydrochlorothiazide. So if you're going to do a show, don't tell them you're doing a show. Just make up some lame excuse that you need hydrochlorothiazide. It can help, help your kidneys to not work as hard and bring your blood pressure down 10 points. I don't know. Make up some shit because then they'll go, oh, okay. And doctors consider it an innocuous compound. They don't know you're using it if you're going to use it. I don't know, some people use it, some people don't, for a show or something like that. But the point is these compounds can be procured from pretty much any pharmacy in India for pennies on the dollar.
Okay.
I know people who buy Cialis, say, by the tab, and they'll get a year's worth. And you know what? A lot of them, if it doesn't come through, turn around and send it to you. I've heard of people, and I think this is shitty, but I have heard of people getting it. It comes airmail, and then they contact the company and say that it didn't show up, or one of the packages did, and they turn around and remail it because United States money or currency, the same amount of money to someone in India.
Oh
shit!
And it's just cheap and over the counter there. So
they're making so much money, it's retarded.
Yeah.
So compounds like that are very easy to get. And from what I understand, and I don't want anybody to hold me to this, but the way that I understand it is the United States does the laws allow for importation of up to 90 days of personal use for drugs that are approved by the FDA.
If you have a prescription for them.
Pardon me? If
you have a prescription for them.
No.
You sure about
that? The way
I
understand is if they're approved, then that's a person. The script is kind of an assumption that you have the script. What I'm saying is you don't have to provide the script, and they're not going to stop it at customs because it's only a 90-day supply. So, and that's the way I understand it. Anybody listening who, if you know, don't guess, but if you know that that's not true or why, that it's not true and why, then I want to hear it.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Not true, and this is why.
Okay.
Because you have to have a prescription to have a prescription drug. It's just like cops pull you over. You got a prescription. It says you have 30 tabs, and you're 10 days into it, but you have 60 in there, or you only have 10 left. You're not meeting the prescription guidelines. You're in trouble.
What I'm saying, though, is the drug to get into the country through customs does not need a script.
Yeah, no.
If they want to come after you and see if you have a script, they could do that.
Well, here's.
Well, I don't think they're going to come over to my house for like 60 boner pills.
I can tell you this, I have that story. So I actually this is a weird one. I got a customs letter in the mail, and I saw it come in the mail, and I was like, ooh, this doesn't look good. And I can tell this story because I didn't do anything wrong. The letter is addressed to me. It has my address on it. I don't know how they got my address to begin with, but
it's the government. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know how?
It was Trump.
I open it up. And the letter is addressed to Kyle somebody or another. Okay, and it is. It says that we have confiscated. He had 20 Viagra that he had ordered from an overseas source, and it got confiscated. And basically, they said you can't bring. They stopped him from bringing 20 Viagra in because he didn't have. You're not supposed to do that. You can't do that without a prescription. And I don't even know about bringing back. Like I know for sure if you go to Mexico, even if you get a prescription, there's question about being able to bring that back with that Mexican prescription without a U.S. prescription.
Yeah, that I don't know. That I'm not sure of.
Because you got to have, so if not, then they would let those 20 Viagra go. It was funny.
How long ago was it? Was it recently? I mean, was it
pretty recent? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
He's got the box right there. He's like,
I mean, I might have it still because I didn't throw it away.
Here's the letter.
Yeah, it was in the last 3 months, we'll say.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to refer to you as Kyle.
Continue, Kyle, with the podcast.
Here's the thing I'm afraid of. I'm afraid they just had my address up there, like on the screen. Just like we know he's going to order something, we're just going to get this ready to print. Like I think that's what they were doing. I think
it's just funny how in bodybuilding in general, everyone is so fucking paranoid. They swear that there are people in their bushes. And look, we've all done it. I remember one time, and I can say this because it's so long ago, like 2004 or 2005, I could see the mailbox from my house, but it was one of those neighborhood community boxes that's like all big with all the, and I would just watch it and I'd be like, I know my growth is sitting in there, but I'm looking all over like bushes and shit. And I would like watch all day and I'd be like, do I send my kids to go get them? Like, no, I can't do that. I can't send my kids to go get my growth kits. Yeah. And then I got it and I was fine. I was like,
yeah, this guy.
But everybody's paranoid about that.
This Kyle guy, he lived like 3 miles away. It was legitimately another person. I looked him up. I found him on Facebook. He plays hockey. He wasn't a bodybuilder. I don't know. He just needed some Viagra, I guess. But
he probably knew who you were, and he was going to see you at like the gym, and he would be like, "Dude, you sent me this," and he'd be like, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate that." But see, and he would never get in trouble for that.
The letter on his thing, it was like to him. It was like addressed to him, his address, but they put it in an envelope with my address on it.
Oh,
it's like that's why I said like they're just keeping my address on file. In case they need to send me other letters.
She could have called customs and said, no, just go ahead and send it through. And they would have sent through whatever he ordered. It could have been like a pallet of growth. You never know. But then it was only like 20 Viagra. Did they tell you in the letter that it was only 20 Viagra?
Yeah. They gave me the quantity and they said, Kyle, you're not supposed to do this. If you want to dispute it, then you can contact us. Otherwise, then you'll forfeit what you ordered or whatever, the contents of the package.
Okay, well then, someone out there, because you guys clearly have a different version of the 90-day thing. Someone tell me where that went wrong, because there's some variation of that with the 90-day. I feel that there's some. Maybe it's
you tell the police that. I feel this is right. You can tell the cops.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming from the only guy that's been in jail for it. Yeah, there we go.
Oh. All right, I've got some shout outs here. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Nate Pennington. I found his picture. Let me see if I can grab this and yeah, there we go. Drug it onto the screen. It's of somebody's picture window with a Confederate flag. So shout out to Nate for that. We had another shout out for Rube. I don't know how you pronounce your last name, Rube, but he's from Pakistan and he's watching right now. Travis,
fun in the Taliban, Rube. Go ahead. You can continue now.
You pay no attention to S2H, Rube. Travis James, shout out from Australia, says, still love the show and listen intently to the great information. Anne Marie is with us. Does she work with you, Skip?
Anne Marie. God, why would you put me on the spot like that? Yeah. Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, and she's awesome.
All right.
No, because if I'm wrong, see, I'm terrible with names, though. I know people like by member names more than I do. Now, if I interact with them a lot and I've met them, or I've met them at a show or something, that's different. But some of those names I don't know. Anne Marie. Okay. Anne Marie. No, I don't know. I don't recognize the name. God, I hope.
I won't put you on the spot like that again. You know what it is? If you were to look at her profile, then you'd be like, oh, yeah, that's Anne Marie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I see him all the time. He's got all sorts of like weird dashes around his name and stuff. How do you say this, Skip? Singeon. Singan? Singan?
Singen?
Geon.
Singian
Derry. He's from the UK, so shout out to him. He's got a question for us that we could try to get to later. Got more questions. Shout out to Tim Warbrook. He's listening. He's the one who told me about where to find Nate Pennington's thing and picture. And we got one here from Joshua. He says, I would love to hear Scott McNally's GHB story, which I forgot about that one. So maybe I could try to tell that one if we have time, because we're already like 40 minutes deep into the show. So we gotta keep things moving. If anybody else wants shout outs, let us know. We'll give you a shout out by the end of the show. And I will remember that, Josh, about the GHB story, because I have a good one of a training partner. It was pretty crazy. Cops are there. It's EMS was there. I had to call 911, but we'll try to get to that at some point. Let's take a quick break so that the listeners that are listening to the audio version of this podcast will have an opportunity to hear all about the amazing work that Skip Hill does with his clients at teamskip.com. That's right. And
yeah, why'd you scowl?
I don't know. I don't know. I was looking at Scott over here, and I got confused.
Clients you can't remember their names of. No clients.
And also, you can check out Intense Muscle, and of course, TrueNutrition.com. Use our code ADVICES. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Welcome back to Blood, Sweat, and Gear. I'm with somebody rattling a package. I think that's S2H. That is loud as fuck,
Mute
man.
Your microphone.
Please.
Just talk, Skip. No one will hear anything over it.
In Skip Hill, we're back. We just talked a bunch about Modafinil in the first half of the show. And now we are going to our questions. Guys, we're over at the questions in the bodybuilding forums at Advices Radio. I'm going to switch over to that real quick. I hit the wrong button and then all things go to shit. But here we are. This is the forum. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff lined up here. I think we're going to start here. Let's see if this is our first question of the day. We covered this one. Here we go. How to find a coach.
Teamskip.com.
That knows your name or doesn't?
That's right. It matters.
You guys, you guys suggested
Adderall.
You guys had suggested that I get one in the last episode to take the reins. This was the guy. Okay, so last episode, he was talking about trying to bring his body fat down. And he had been 300 pounds in the past, got down, and he said pure fat, as he called it, got down to 210, and then he kind of fluctuated. And so he started dirty bulking and stuff. Anyway, we suggested that he got a coach so that he just put him on the straight path. He says, and I agree, but one, to hit personal goals, not planning to compete anytime soon. Contacted Skip, but cannot afford his rates at the moment. as I thought may be the case, but having no idea how much a coach costs was worth a try. Advanced Training Tech has seemingly not been up since episode 36, so it's a mystery about how to contact S2H. How can
I cost more than the skip, so you might have to move on.
How do I find a coach that actually knows their stuff and doesn't just spout what they read on the message boards? You can't exactly Google bodybuilding coaches near me and check out their Google reviews. I'm going to throw myself out there and say, get a hold of me if you want to. I think that I'm a cheap coach, so I'll throw that out. But nonetheless, if he is looking for a coach and he doesn't want to go with me, what do you guys think would be a good way for him to find a coach that works for his goals and works for his budget too? Because that's obviously important. If he could probably afford you, Skip, and then from there he wouldn't be able to afford the food that he needed to eat anyway. So it's a wash.
I don't give a shit about that. As long as you pay me, I don't really. You can sleep under a fucking. You can sleep under a bridge. It doesn't matter to me. No, I've got trainers. I've got trainers that are, I have a program where I work with guys who want to be technically approved, Team Skip approved trainers. And I've run 2 groups now over the last 4 years. It's funny because I see other people doing. It's not funny like I think it's shitty.
Yeah.
Imitation is the best form of flattery, and I don't think anybody that I can think of, which doesn't mean that that no one was doing it, but no one that I can think of was doing it before I did it. And then I see 4 or 5 of the other guys starting to do the same thing, which I think is a good idea and the reason for that, just for the listeners, is so that people who are looking for a nutritionist or a prep guy, even if it's off season, you're a prep guy, but you're not because you're not prepping for a show. But you don't have to sift through or wade through the sea of turds to try to guess, well, who's going to rip me off? Who's not going to pay any attention to me? Who gives a shit? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Who really has the ability to be able to work with me? And my trainers clearly aren't as expensive as me, but they're very well versed in my methods, and they worked with me for 2 years to get to that point, or up to 2 years. It just depends for each trainer how long it is. But I have other trainers that are not as expensive. So if he's listening and he wants to be put in touch with one of my Skip approved trainers, that might be a way to go too. Now, I'm not trying to talk the guy out of working with Scott because Scott said he was cheap. He's not cheap. He's inexpensive or less expensive.
There we go. Well, thank you.
But very good. I've seen, me with prep guys. I don't have a lot of respect for the 100 million wannabe prep guys out there.
No, I know you don't.
You do very good work. Yeah, Yeah, I've been very, very vocal about it and will continue to. But you do very good work. And I don't even know if you're not expensive or not. I honestly don't know what your rates are. But you do good work. So he would be in good hands if he worked with you as well. Scott, you don't have your website up?
No, I hate people. Leave me alone.
Don't
go. I recommend he calls Scott McNally because A, he's less expensive than you, and B, he remembers people's names. So that right there,
we're never going to live that
reason.
One down.
No, I will say that everybody, all the people I've seen Scott work with, has looked really good, and so I'd go with him over Skip. People.
Well, I appreciate it, guys.
I think it's probably a good idea.
But I do want to ask though, so that this would be a good way, I think, to look beyond just us, just for general education purposes. How do you sift through and find someone who's not going to be, because there's too many times where somebody does say like, oh, I hired this coach and then he just didn't pay attention, or he helped me for 8 weeks and then dropped the ball, or there's a guy from my gym. Got to be careful in how I say this. There's a guy who calls himself a prep coach at my gym. He kind of moved to another gym now, but he still goes there sometimes. He always is. He's the same guy who's wanted to take my clients. He always tells them, you should work with me instead of Scott. He's only ever prepped like a handful of people in his life. And then I've heard of him taking money from someone, and then when he gave them their drug cycle, like a month later, they're going to start gear. And he was like, and I can get all that for you. And he was charging outrageous prices for the gear. And the guy was like, I don't want to pay those prices. I'll get it from somewhere else. Then he just bailed. The coach just bailed on him. So people run into shit like that, man. I mean, how do we avoid that?
I've got the answer, but if Scott wants to jump on it, I can wait for a minute.
Answer what?
I got the answer to really the best way to find. When he contacted me, if he would have told me, I'd love to come back and told me and responded with, and I'm not beating him up for it, but I'm saying if he would have responded with, hey, I'd really like to work with you, but I can't afford you right now. Or even if it's not can't afford, I don't want to spend that kind of money. It's more than I thought.
Yeah.
And if he would have said or even mentioned that and potentially said, and this is what I tell people all the time, if they're too expensive or you don't want to pay that kind of money and it's legit expensive, then ask if there is someone that they would recommend that would, because you're not going to get that client anyway because they are telling you it's just too much money. Yeah. And you can sit there and you can be shitty about it and think, well, I'm worth all that kind of money. It's not about whether you think you're worth it or the client thinks you're worth it. They just may not have the money. They got fucking kids. They're in college. They're in the military. There's just a lot of reasons why. Maybe they want to buy a bunch of guns and this isn't their top thing. It's just not for us really to judge. So I say have someone or a couple people behind you as a trainer that aren't as expensive to you, that you respect well enough, that can do a good job that isn't as expensive as you.
That is.
It's just going to happen. You think you're not going to get referrals from other people? You'll get referrals from other people. If you have people below you who, let's just say, maybe they don't do prep. They only do off-season work or they're in a certain demographic. If they're honest on their end and they say, I've only got, and when I say they, I'm talking about the other trainer is willing to accept the fact that, hey, I don't have the level of experience that Skip does with prepping people. So if somebody were to come to me for prep, I would push them to Skip. Then that's how shit should be done. But people don't usually do that. And I would have been able to say, hey, I've got these Team Skip approved trainers, you may want to, because they're, their methods, they've been under me for 2 years. They're, they have their own, been training clients, successful personal training businesses, and they could look into them. Other than that, honestly, I don't know how you sift through it or sift through the trainers without knowing an awful lot about the industry to know who is well respected and who isn't. Because then you can get 5, 6, 8 guys who are very well respected who will work with you. You can afford them. But then it comes down to things like, maybe not rapport, but in a sense it's kind of rapport. Are you going to be a good fit? There's plenty of people who are good at what they do and cost about the same. But then there's that good fit versus, okay, it might be a better fit. So maybe you're younger. Maybe you're older. The older demographic loves me because I'm older and I know shit that younger people, I deal with things that older people deal with, back injuries. Families, things like that, a little bit more balance. If someone comes to me and says, I don't care how I win, I don't care if I fucking die if I win, that's all that matters to me. Honestly, I'm going to be like, I'm booked. I'm solid, dude. It's not going to work. I can't work with you. Yeah. Because that's not the mentality I want to deal with. I don't want to deal with that. And the reason for that primarily is because my experience has shown that even if that guy comes in wicked fucking peeled, if he takes second place, I'm going to get bitched out for it. Right. Like I somehow have control who shows up at the show. Right. And it has happened. It's funny. I've worked with pros. I've worked with top level amateurs waiting to go pro. I just backed away from it within the last handful of years a little bit, and everybody thinks I don't prep people anymore. Yeah. So, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult for someone out there to find somebody without knowing the bodybuilding industry and the names that come. That's why they pick people on Instagram based on what they look like. You can't fault them. Yeah. Shit. All right. I'm going to move on then. We've got some.
Hire Scott McNally.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Okay. Hey guys, I was wondering your thoughts on front loading gear for quicker results. I've seen people talk about this, saying that it works great, and others saying it's a load of crap. Would love to know what you guys think about this practice. We've answered this before, but it's been a long time, so I figured let's touch it real quick again, because we got a bunch of stuff still. Scott, you want to start us out here?
It's a bunch of crap.
Yeah?
I mean, people do it, and usually they front load orals and stuff. I mean, let's think of it from a 10,000 foot view. If you take more shit right at the start, you're going to start seeing different things because you got nitrogen retention and all that from all the extra crap you're taking in. So you're going to fill out more. You're going to get bigger pumps. Does that equate to having more muscle at the end? So does the cause and the effect go together? No.
More side effects, right?
Yeah, more side effects. But I mean, does doing that loading out front at the end when you strip everything off, you get ready to compete or whatever, or you just look at how much muscle mass you gain, is the end result any different? No. I mean, the first month you're like, oh, dude, I'm freaking jacked. I'm taking D-ball and front loading it with this and that. I mean, yeah, I mean, you could do it in the middle and you're going to have that lift. You know what I mean? So no, I don't find a whole lot of use in it.
My response is easy. I completely agree. And front loading to me usually means you're impatient. I want it now. I can't wait 2 or 3 fucking weeks for my blood levels to come up. I think, of course, orals, they're going to jump into your system a lot faster, raise blood levels faster, but that really is the mark. I mean, and look, we've all been there. I'm not terribly patient myself, but shit, man, just sit on it. I like the way you explain it, Scott, because really what matters is if you're going to run something for 16 weeks, are you going to be any further along at 16 weeks if you start orals first and get blood levels? No. So that's really what matters. Now, if you want to be impatient about it and you want to get your blood levels up, I guess more power to you, but I don't see any benefit to it at all.
Let me ask you this, guys, because I totally agree with you. There was a time I wouldn't have agreed, though. I would have been like, oh, yeah, no, you front load it because then you get your levels up faster and blah, blah, blah. It's been through my real world experience that I've actually seen it didn't, like Scott said, it didn't make a difference. At the end of the day, if I go to a show, in 16 weeks, am I going to look any different because I front loaded the gear? No, absolutely not. So to me, it's not worth it. But was there a time for both of you guys that you tried it, that you thought, hey, this sounds like it would be a good idea. This makes sense. Was there a time you believed in front loading, I guess, is what I'm wondering. Because it was so popular on the boards,
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily – I mean, it's not wrong. It's not that you – I think we're just trying to make the point that at the finish line, it doesn't matter. So if you want to do it and you want to start out, then that's fine. I know a lot of people are against orals in the off season. I'm not against orals in the off season, but I am against using them long term. I rotate them 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. You're just going to get different opinions when it comes to orals like this. But no, I don't think it changes the big picture at the end. And I think that's what Scott was saying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did a 6-year front load one time. It didn't work out too well at the end. Yeah, so, I mean, I think we've all done it. I mean, I don't know. I don't have I don't have the best memory, so I don't have this grandiose story to tell. I mean, sometimes you just put too much in the syringe and you go, okay, we're just going to start with this then, since it's 3 cc's too many. I don't know.
I've often drawn a syringe and went, oops. Oh, silly me. I went over 1.5 mil.
Whoops.
Not going to waste this gear.
I'll give you this. Find every winner of any show and go, hey, what was the key to your success? Dude, I front loaded for 30 days 16 weeks ago. I mean, did anybody say that?
Right,
Negative.
Right. And I don't want to pick the guy apart. It's an honest question. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want to give him a hard time. It sounds like it's unanimous that we all think it's silly, stupid, so don't fucking do it. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Nebraska Muscle, he says, so I've noticed TNE has been a hot topic lately after Skip talked about the combo with injectable Anadrol. What I was wondering is, would said combo be good during a dieting phase? The only reason I ask is because in the past I noticed Anadrol to hinder appetite, which doesn't work for me in the off season while trying to pile on the calories. But I thought if one was on low calories, would it maybe help with a little extra fullness in the muscle and the pump, and at the same time diminish appetite? Also, with the increase in cardio, I'd suspect that blood pressure issues to be a little bit more mitigated. just now making it to the forum, but I've been a longtime fan of the show. You guys crack me up. It seems cliche to say now, but the show definitely does help morning cardio go by. Also, cool you guys started doing the videos on YouTube. Thank you very much, Nebraska Muscle, for the kind words. Skip, let's let you take this first, man, since you're the Anadrol TNE guy.
You know, I think I heard a guffaw over there from the shadow, and I don't appreciate that. You said, I'm going to go to Skip first, and he was like, like, what? That's a giant fucking sigh. That's not even fair.
I actually had my balls cut underneath me under the chair, so I had to move them out. I went, oh. It's okay, go ahead, Skip, go ahead.
100% agree with everything he said. I think it's it, and I've done the same. I would only add this. Anadrol with DNP is also a good idea. Because I think that it helps to kill your appetite as well, which he touched on too, which is why I took it when I did. And I don't think it was the TNE, but it was Anadrol itself, just oral Anadrol.
It's DNP, not TNE.
I know, the point was I took it. Anadrol with DNP is still a good idea too, because it kills your appetite. Usually you're starving on DNP, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to be on Anadrol at that time. That was my rationale, and I think that it actually worked real well and worked to my favor. But Anadrol, I mean, I think it's great. It's great shit. But again, my oral in the off season is to run 4 on, 4 off. I don't like to run them a long time, but I still think orals in the off season are good. So yeah, absolutely. And TNE, this is how bad my memory is. Did I run that when I was dieting or when I switched? I think it was when I switched from the diet phase. Well, I was still dieting, but from cutting body fat to trying to stay lean while I was growing.
Well, I can tell you this, you quit running it right up to the Arnold.
Okay. All right. Then it was after I shifted gears and was trying to keep that leanness, but gain the size. And I'm just telling you, I hate to sound like I'm pushing it. I don't have a load of Anadrol here I'm trying to sell, but Anadrol is good shit.
Injectable Anadrol, especially this injectable Anadrol. TeamSkip.com.
Team Skip Blend, yeah. Team Skip Blend TNE.
Scott, anything you wanted to add to this conversation, this topic?
Well, my 6-year front load included Anadrol,
oh, yeah.
Anadrol, and Anadrol. So it definitely is one, and I was much younger and in great shape then. And my blood pressure eventually just went through the friggin' ceiling.
Okay.
You know, when you lay down to like bench and you do 5 reps and your head just wants to explode?
Yeah.
That kind. So I would say you got to be careful with that.
But you were heavy at that time, right?
No, I was like 6-pack rips.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, because I just didn't notice anything like that. And I think the leaner you are, I think a lot of people think, oh, no matter your condition, you're going to hold a lot of water on Anadrol. And the fatter you are, the more water you hold. And the fatter you are, the higher the body fat, the more likely your blood pressure is going to go up. It'll still go up, but even more so if you're heavy.
Well, I would say that my diet at the time wasn't, even though I was in good shape, drinking every night probably didn't help.
You were drinking while on Anadrol. Let me just make sure I understand this.
Excessively.
Oh,
wow.
My
God. Oh, do you ever take a shit and your liver like pokes out of your asshole just a little bit and you got to shove it back up there? What the fuck are you doing?
Every once in a while.
Exactly.
This is like way back before even the magazines were out hardly. I didn't know. It just worked. But anyway, so yeah, I mean,
it worked.
You got to. Best thing is just do everything in. And the thing I bring up drinking too. The guys from Nebraska, that's the only thing they do there is drink. So it's part of their lifestyle. I've been to Nebraska. I like Nebraska, but yeah, I mean, you got to be in moderation with it, and you got to be in tune with yourself. If you wake up and your ears are red in the morning, that's a pretty good sign your blood pressure is going up. Things like that. So
you make a good point about benching though. Because, man, you lie down and you go to bench and your eyes feel like they're going to blow out of your head.
A wraparound headache.
You got some blood pressure issues going on there.
Yep.
Yep.
Got a bunch more questions. Got about 5 or so left here. I want to ask Katie Martin something. She said, because she has a question on Facebook. Well, we're going to try to get to the Facebook questions after we finish the board questions. But she says she'd like to know our opinions on using DHEA and pregnenolone while on TRT. I'd like to know a little bit. I think you guys will want to know a little bit more about what her TRT is before we were to comment on that. So if she could fill us in on that, that would be great. Nebraska Muscle has one more question. He says, do any of you switch to supersetting workouts during a diet phase, or do you guys pretty much do the rule of dance with the one that brought you, and reference to essentially no change in your training, but just adding in more cardio and calorie deficit? Who wants to jump in on this one?
Me.
And Scott.
I mean, I was always an instinctive trainer. I just kind of did whatever, I think I said it before. Sometimes I'd walk in the door of the gym and not know what I was going to do. But yeah, I always stayed with that pattern. I never really jumped around. I just did my same thing, whatever it was. But I wouldn't say I altered it, That's all I got.
Okay.
That's a Dante-ism. I give him full credit for dance with the one that brought you. Now, Scott Stevenson says it a lot, and so do I, but we got it from Dante.
Okay.
I'm just admitting it. And if Scott tries to own it, he'll be busted too. But no, I completely subscribe to that, primarily because and this is just my philosophy, but during prep or during restricted caloric intake, I do try to keep my poundages up as much as possible. When you superset, that's difficult to do. I'm not a big fan of huge intensity or a lot of intensity techniques during prep, believe it or not. I'm not against them, but I'm not a huge fan of them. And the main reason is the more caloric output or the more cardio you're doing with restricted calories, the more your recovery is in jeopardy. And when the intensity techniques go up, and a lot of people do this during prep, and I just kind of don't like the logic. I don't believe in the logic behind it. If it's infrequent, that's great. But when I hear people doing, supersets and drop sets and rest pause and things like that, my first reaction is your ass gotta be overtrained. Like, you're having a hard time recovering anyway, so why would you beginning of a prep, maybe. But as you get deeper into a prep, I just don't think it's a good idea. Now, if you're losing strength, if your joints are killing you and you're putting them in infrequently to kind of change things up and confuse the body, I'm totally for that. I get that. I've done that on occasion too. But to rely on them or have things like supersets be more than, say, 50% of your training method, I don't think that's a very good idea.
Yeah, fair enough. That sounds good. I totally agree with both you guys. Although I'll bring them in, like you said, Skip. If I'm getting weaker, and I can't bring that same intensity, then instead of pushing as heavy of a weight, then maybe I could do some time. Oh, guess who's dipping?
He's just spitting. It's in the left side of his mouth. Left side of his mouth.
All right, next question. Hey guys, Gaz Flapjack here again. Says 1 week out from my show, in a great place, ready to hit the final skip load tomorrow, which he already did because he wrote this on the 24th. We're recording this on the 26th. 2 big skip loads this past 2 weeks has had me drop a good 6 pounds and put me in a great spot to cruise into the show. My question relates to GH for the off season. I've never really run it, but this time want to try. I will only use pharma grade if I'm going to fork out for it. But I've read that Humatrope in the pen form only lasts 28 days once mixed with water. Vial form only 14 days. Is this true in your experience? My plan was initially to run 2 to 4 units every other day, but reading that it only lasts 28 days, the 72-unit pin would need to be dosed at 5 units a day to make sure that it would be used before it disintegrated. And the instructions, then per the instructions needs to be discarded. What are your thoughts, guys? As always, loving the content and keeping me inspired. Can't wait to get stuck into an off season with you guys. All right. Humatrope.
No, you're fine. Just keep refrigerated. It's not going to, you're fine.
Skip, you got something to say?
I don't think I have much to add. I mean, I agree with
Keep filling, because I'll be back. I'm going to be back in about 1 minute.
Okay.
Kyle's at the door.
Yeah.
Whoever the listener is, you're fine. I got tons. I've had a prescription for years. You're good. Just don't leave it on the. Don't forget and leave it on the counter, which maybe I've done that. So. No,
Let me ask you this, Scott, and this is kind of piggybacking off of what he was saying, and I'm not going to knock him for going farm grade because I think that's great, but I was going to do that as well, and I changed my mind at the last minute because I'd gotten so much good feedback from the generics that are out there that they're so high quality, and I think they are. Do you agree or no?
I don't think they hold up.
What don't hold up? What doesn't hold up?
The generics.
Yeah, well, I can agree with that. I mean, to some degree, but as far as doing what you're supposed to do and keeping them the way you're supposed to, do you feel that the generics out there right now are actually pretty good? Or would you say, yeah, go spend the extra money on farm grade because it's worth it? I don't know if it is.
Mine's free, so I don't know. I don't care. I don't think I've never had a generic that matched Pfizer Genotropins.
Kyle stopped by my house. He dropped this off to me.
What did Kyle
What
bring?
is it?
It's
Is that an enema? What is it? Oh.
it's a pen.
Pen.
A GH pen.
Yeah. It's probably too bright, isn't it? The light's reflecting off of it.
I'm waiting for the DEA to fucking fast forward
I know.
down your screen.
Yeah, this is live, by the way.
Yeah, this is good. That's fine. I have a prescription for it. It's good.
Oh.
Humatropes. These are the...
What you going to do?
What's
What you
that?
going to do when they come for you?
Bad boys.
Well, it'll be live, hopefully. That's all I can hope for. But I was gonna say though that I've used these 72 unit pens, and I want to say that. So is it 5 units a day? Because I thought it was more like 3. 72 units. What's the math on that?
It's in 30 days.
Yeah,
It's 2.5.
2.5 units will be okay. Hold on a second. So let's take
It's like 2.4.
Yeah, it's pretty damn close. I can't believe you did the math that fast.
Smarter than I look.
No.
Yeah, there you go. So, you wouldn't have to do 5 units a day in 30 days. A 72 unit pen.
2.4.
Yeah.
No, but I got a feeling he's probably considering not dosing it daily. Maybe he's going to dose it 5 days a week or something to that
You'll
effect.
be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, that made me make the decision to do it 7 days a week because of the pen, because I read those instructions. It says right on there. If you go to the website too, it says out there, just discard it. But I know that the solvent is different. I know that this solvent is totally different than the solvent that I've used with anything else. And I know that acetic acid will make things last longer, right? So whatever this solvent is, I wonder if that, I don't know, man. I feel like with what you're getting, it's going to be fine, even if you went a little bit longer. If you went for 5 weeks instead of 4, it's not going to be totally lost, right, Scott?
What's that?
If you spread it out, like you said, you'd be fine with it, but it'd be good for 5 weeks, right?
Take it 7 days in a row, then go every other day.
Okay.
I can understand the question, though. I mean, that's a lot of money. If you're going farm grade, you want to make damn sure that shit is not going bad on you.
Yeah.
It's not going to go bad. Just don't leave it on the counter or something. Do it, and then your phone rings, and you're like, oh, and then come back 3 hours later, and it's sitting on the counter.
Leaving it in the sun, out on the deck or something like that. Plus, I got to throw in, Gaz is a pretty cool dude. He's a fellow Marlins fan. This guy's in the UK, and he subscribes to the baseball channel so he can watch Marlins games.
You're kidding me.
Nah, man, he's a pretty cool dude.
All right. We've got one more question from the forum. This is from Hold My Beer.
Yeah.
How much protein? He says, from what I have read, 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound. Is this still acceptable while on gear? I have heard that muscle protein synthesis happens at a fixed rate, and carbs are actually more important while on gear. But I have heard Skip say many times he doesn't value carbs all that much. How much protein should one consume on gear, and how do the rest of the macros fall into place? I usually do 250 grams of protein, 250 carbs, 70 fat, in a 250 to 500 calorie deficit for reference. I also want to say, I think it's badass that he knows what Skip normally, like this. We're educating people as to how you think. You know that, guys?
That's
We
dangerous.
We
That
are.
is
No,
really dangerous.
That's what's amazing about podcasts. That's what's amazing about these shows.
And I have to clarify, though.
Yeah.
I'm not against carbs. I have had people ask me before, or they'll message me and say, "I know you're not a fan of carbs." I am. I'm not a fan of excessive carbs. And I think that a lot of people overdo the carb. And sometimes they don't overdo it by much. Sometimes they don't need 300 grams of carbs and they only need 175. And then they think they're carb sensitive when really it has nothing to do with the fact that you're just taking in more carbs than you need. And that will make you sensitive. And I'm paraphrasing. Basically, it's going to make you fat instead of sensitive to carbs. So it's not that I'm against carbs, and they are protein sparing, but so are calories in general. I mean, if you take in more fat, then that's going to be sparing as, to protein as well. Not as much, and I get that. But I'm also not a huge proponent anymore of massive amounts of protein. Back during the DC training surge, that was the deal. Back in the intense muscle days, if you weren't doing 2 grams of protein per pound of body fat, you were getting chastised for not taking in 450 grams of protein. And yet, sometimes when people change to taking in larger amounts of protein, it can be incredibly beneficial from a growth standpoint. But typically, it's probably more due to the increase in calories than it is actual more, protein. Because it makes a good point. You're only going to use so much protein. Now, it's not 25 grams or 30 grams per meal like, a lot of people have said in the past. But it's tough to say where that number is because it's so different. I find myself with clients and they don't like it. If I drop their protein by 10 grams per meal, especially if it's in a gaining phase, they're like, whoa, what's going on? I'm not going to grow. Maybe not exactly I'm not going to grow, but there's that concern that you're dropping my protein. How am I going to continue to grow? Why would you do that? I'm in the off season. Sometimes it just doesn't need to be that high, and especially when you're getting leaner. One thing I did when I started in October after the 3-month break that I took from bodybuilding was I did drop my protein lower than it's been probably in 10 years. And I was only taking in about 45 grams per meal when typically I'm in the 60, 65. And I grew, well, first I got leaner with no cardio, very, quite well.
Yeah.
And then I've managed to stay lean and grow very well with the same, and have not changed my protein intake 9 months now. I think it's been coming up on June. So yeah, it's coming up on 9 months. So I think sometimes it can change. It can depend on what your goals are, but everybody's different in that. And I know that's a shitty answer to a lot of people. They want that black and white, but I would say start at I don't think going less than a gram per pound is very good.
Yeah.
But somewhere probably in that gram and a half, 1.3, 1.5, you're just going to have to play. You got to play with it, and it depends on your goals. You're getting leaner, or you're growing. How often are you, refeeding? How often are you offsetting your metabolism? There's a lot of factors there.
I just started working with a girl today. And it's not a situation I want to be in. She's 4 weeks out, and she stopped working with the coach she was working with. She wasn't
tough.
And she.
What's his name?
She asked me. By the way, Kyle, thanks for the GH. I appreciate it. So she's 130 pounds, and her coach had her eating like 220 grams plus of protein at 4 weeks out. She wasn't getting lean fast enough. That was my first thought, because she's not eating a ton of carbs. She's not getting much fat. but she also wasn't doing a ton of cardio either. But that was my first thought. You can make big differences just by bringing that protein down if you need to evoke fat loss, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. But at the same time, too, I got to be fair because I don't know what that other coach is thinking.
Yeah.
If you're going to go higher on protein and lower on carbs, and you're going to basically depend on the body to convert that protein to glucose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
No.
It's just that if you
she was still getting carbs. She was still getting a decent amount of carbs too.
And she wasn't getting lean, which is the bigger issue.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a tough, and I can sympathize with your position because taking over from another coach at 4 weeks out is brutally difficult. You have to be very, very clear with your client. Look, I'm going to do everything I can. And unless, if you're not desperate and you're not in a bad position, you're better off sometimes riding it out with your coach than changing.
That's what I suggested.
You do what you can. If you approach it that way, great. And you probably did.
Yeah,
so
and I told her too. I was like, listen, if you can make it with this coach, then you should do it for sure because I feel like you got to weigh it out. Maybe you don't get as lean, but she's been watched this whole time as far as refeeds, all that. Anyway, Scott, do you have anything you wanted to add about protein portions? How much somebody should be getting?
I'd like to say this is why people hire Scott McNally.
Wow.
4 weeks out.
Wow.
In a pinch, they go with him, not this other guy that's dipping over there. Here's my method that works good. If you think your protein intake is too high and you can get a roll of toilet paper to last 2 months, it probably is. So I'm serious. Your bowel movements can tell you more about your diet than you'd ever think.
Yeah.
So if you think you got all that protein, but it's all coming out in concrete blocks, then maybe you ought to look at adjusting the diet because bowel movements can tell you a lot. My old coach would always ask me what my bowel movements are like. I'm like, Christ, I'll start taking pictures of them and bringing them in. Maybe I'll bring samples with me.
Bringing in a little bag.
Yeah.
If it's like cleaning out the inside of a peanut butter jar with your toilet paper, that's probably not very good.
Yeah. So you can adjust your diet. You can adjust your diet based off of that. I'm serious. I mean, you can look at it. I mean, maybe can't make perfect changes.
Yeah.
That's why you hire Scott McNally, and he makes them for you.
Wow. I'm getting all this credit, and Skip is just getting tore up on this episode. Left and right.
Hey, it's all right. I want my commission check, McNally. Got it.
All right.
His rates just went up.
Yeah, exactly.
He is now $20 a week from
I'm increasing my rates.
I'm going over to Facebook to see what we have to wrap up on over here. I know we had a few questions. Can you guys advise anyone? Let's see. Elevated estrogen levels. Can anyone advise if elevated estrogen levels can increase BPH growth?
All right. Well, they're okay. I can definitely. I've dealt with this one. So shut up, Skip. Yeah, it's so there are some different schools of thought here that elevated estrogen, it binds to the prostate, which is true. It does. But there's other reasons for this too. So it's kind of like we were talking about the drugs earlier, the brain. I mean, there's different reasons for it. Yes. Because obviously in men, benign prostate hypertrophy happens when you get older and your estrogen levels increase. So there is some effect there, but there's other reasons too. So you can't just put it into one nutshell. You need to go to the doctor, get labs. It runs in the family. If the grandpa or dad have it, it tends to go down the line. It's genetic in some forms. But yeah, it can happen. And you get Flomax and you piss like 100 miles an hour, like a friggin' fire hose going off. And you feel great. So I heard from a friend. Yeah, but it can affect it. Yeah, but it usually affects it naturally when you get older, not so much as in the younger, So there's an age play in there too. So, and I don't know all the science or the medical history behind it, but I can tell you mine was as big as a fucking grapefruit at one time. It was like sitting on a basketball.
Skip, do you have anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I just think estrogen is high estrogen. I think a lot of people when they're younger, they kind of scoff at having higher estrogen levels. I've even heard it said that, well, if the estrogen levels are higher, I'm bloated right now, I'm in the off season, it doesn't really matter, it'll help me to grow. Yeah, from a health standpoint, I don't think there is any benefit, zero, to having estrogen levels higher. So they need to be controlled. Whether, I've even heard people say, well, I don't have gyno and I'm not prone to it, so it's no big deal. If you're getting older, it's even more important. You just don't want extra estrogen running around. I feel strongly that it's estrogen to cancer cells is gas on a fire. I know we've talked about before IGF levels, and they're important too. I don't know the science behind that, but I've seen too much about estrogen that it's just not a good idea.
By the way, Nebraska Muscle, that's Justin Child.
Oh, shit. Okay, Justin's cool dude too. Yeah.
All right, I'm looking here. I don't know this term. Do you guys know what muscle triggers are?
No.
He says, Scott, you ever hear of a muscle trigger?
Triggers? Like these
No,
kind
that's
of
your
triggers?
trigger muscle. That's
Oh.
different. Yeah, trigger.
Oh, isn't
muscle.
that like when you hit your funny bone or something?
He says, because I just looked it up while you guys were talking there. I don't see anything. Like, I wanted to see if there's a definition on the Google machine. I don't see one. His question was, what do you guys think about muscle triggers in between training sessions to help boost growth in lagging body parts?
Is he talking about electrical impulse at all? I don't know if that's what he's getting at.
Yeah, I don't know what muscle triggers are.
Because I saw Heather Grace post the last handful of days where she's got pads on and it's electrostimulation. I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but you guys know what I'm talking about. The pads that'll stimulate the muscles, right? And she's actually training while she's doing it.
Huh.
I'm not going to say that it's not. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
All I would say is I hope that it's not. I hope it doesn't work, because if that's what training is going to come to, that's going to really suck.
In football, they use that same thing for recovery. I mean, I don't know if that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what muscle triggers means though.
You can actually get a good one too nowadays. Like my dad had a TENS unit. That's what they're called.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My dad had one that he got through the doctor and stuff. This is 2 decades ago, and it was hundreds of dollars for this little device. Now you can get one from like Amazon for $25, just like a little hand. Wait, I'm trying to get on the screen there. There we go. Little handheld device that has all the different settings. You can hook like 4 different pads on it at once. And it worked really good, $25. So if you guys do want a TENS unit, you could pick that up there. See, I think there was one or maybe 2 more questions here. Katie says, what are your thoughts on the ideal blood pressure reading? When I'm completely relaxed sitting for about 10 minutes, mine will be around 130/85. But if I take it in a normal state, it'll be about 150/90. Do you guys think BP meds should be used? Dave Palumbo recommends 5 to 10 milligrams of Ramipril. Thanks for your advice.
I'll tell you what, I'm not even, and I usually will answer some shit like that, but I'm not going anywhere near. I honestly don't want to beat up Dave, but I hope she pressed him for that advice, because I don't think that's any advice that anybody needs to be given. Anybody can take that any way they want. If it sounds shitty, I guess it's shitty. I would say that it would, if I had that blood pressure read, I'd probably be a little bit concerned, but I'm not telling anybody to take shit. No. Nope.
Go see your doctor, because there's multiple reasons why you can have high blood pressure.
There you
and
go.
there's multiple blood pressure
one
meds.
supplement. Yeah, I take a medication for my arteries, my kidneys are genetic. I mean, there's so many reasons you can have high blood pressure. For somebody to give you a singular answer is not sound. He must be selling it under somebody else's company name. Just go to RX Muscle. I'm sure you'll find somebody on there that's shilling it. And that's why it got recommended. I'll say it. Fuck it.
And I don't have a problem with Dave. I don't want to make it sound like, but I don't like that. So I'm not.
Yeah, I wouldn't get it through the black market, but it is something that I would suggest the same thing you said, Scott. Talk to your doctor, because if you have blood pressure that's 150/90, then your doctor is probably going to want to put you on something. What I would suggest is since you're an athlete, you're lifting weights. If you can avoid taking a beta blocker, I would avoid that because that's going to stop you from being able to get your heart rate up. It could be great when you need to stay calm and cool and focused and collected, but it's not fun when you're taking a bunch of metoprolol and then trying to do some cardio or lift weights. You can't get pumped. If you take enough of it, you can't get your heart rate up. You can't get your blood flowing. So it's not what we'd want to look into. At the same time,
it is great for golfing, though. It works great for golfing.
Oh yeah, or giving speeches, or even first dates, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, my first date days are kind of over, but
Speak for yourself.
maybe we can give some to Skip for the show.
But
He'd be
yeah,
like,
I talk.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I talk to the doctor too. I use lisinopril, but I don't use it year round. I just take it if I need it, which I haven't needed it in a long time. But back in the day, using Tren, stuff like that, my blood pressure would go up. And so I just use it for those periods. I've had bad reactions too. What happened to you, Skip? There was that time your face swelled up.
Anaphylaxis, yeah.
It was that from lisinopril?
I thought it was, and I even wrote an article about it because the high percentage of people who go to emergency rooms and have anaphylactic, responses, they have swelling of the face. It is related to lisinopril. In my condition, it wasn't.
I
know what. That was the ones I sent you. I'm sorry. Those were birth control pills. You shouldn't have taken them. I forgot.
I was using Norvasc.
I
was using Norvasc. I think it's a calcium channel blocker. And it's supposed to be pretty well tolerated. And I was on it for a couple months, no problem. And then one day, I brushed my teeth. Well, I got home from work. I was getting ready to go to the gym. I brushed my teeth before I left. And I saw this little spot of blood, like when you floss your teeth, and your gum bleeds a little bit. I was like, okay. And I don't worry about it. And I go to the gym and I train. And I come home and it's still bleeding. I'm like, what the fuck? It's weird. And then that night, next morning, I wake up and there's like drool on my pillow with blood in it. I'm like, this is not good. Is this coming from my mouth, or is this coming like from internally? What, am I dying? And it was because I was getting swelling. My gums were swelling, and it's because the Norvasc had built up after a period of time. So I agree with you guys. Like, it's not something to fuck around with. I wouldn't just say take this medication.
Yep.
That might be it. That might be all.
Hey, that was real hardcore to go to the gym with that gum bleed. More power. That's why you hire Scott McNally. He goes to the gym with gum bleeds.
Yeah.
He'll remember your name, too.
Yeah. R2D2. 3.
I think that's all we've got, guys.
I have a question here. Scott, who cut your hair?
Me?
Yeah. You?
What is that?
I cut it myself?
Yeah.
Did you hold your head sideways when you did it?
Yeah.
You're like, I could see the... No, I'll tell you later. I don't want to embarrass you.
Yeah, pretty easy for the shadow guy to be commenting on what we
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was just asking. I didn't know if that was a new style to get higher up on one side or something.
Well, it kind of is. I had a new girl cut my hair, and usually there's what side is it? This side? Usually there's a little bit longer right here, but it is cut that high up. It is cut pretty high up. She just took the fade higher.
Did she have a dog with a vest on? Because that might explain.
Oh, I see where you're going.
Yeah, that was bad.
She walked around with a little stick, rolling around.
Tapping the
She
floor.
did. You guys know her.
I thought maybe VJ cut it. I don't know. With his big pythons, they got in the way. I saw a picture of VJ again the other day. I'm like, that dude's just getting jacked.
I don't even care about that anymore. The fact that he played Whiskey a Go-Go,
that was
Stone Temple Pilots, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, right?
I knew the guy could play, but all of a sudden he went from like normal jack dude who plays a guitar on Instagram to playing with the Stone Temple Pilots and those fucking tights and everything. I was like, no fucking way.
He looked
I
like
want his autograph.
he looked crazy.
Harlem Globetrotters met Richard Simmons in that outfit. He was rocking, dude. All he needed was a cucumber in his pants. He'd have been on.
Oh man,
I've never sucked a dick before, but
you're about to now after seeing that.
I don't know. He's not that bad looking, I guess. I don't know. He can play the guitar.
He's got the tights. The tights are the seal the deal. You guys want to talk about GHB before we go, or do you want to call it a day?
So I'll take some and we'll talk.
Do what?
No, it's a. I'm telling you, it makes
We'll also take some and we'll talk.
it makes it makes you drunk, and apparently GBL, you said, I just want to kind of recap.
Yeah.
You take GBL, the stomach
It's a
changes
precursor.
it to
It's a
GHB.
precursor. Yeah.
Okay. So you get, it's like getting drunk. It's like drinking too much, but no calories, right? I mean, is that the best way to explain it?
No.
No? What does it do then? You don't hallucinate or anything, right?
Kind of like I don't know, like Molly kind of.
Oh shit! It's
Sort of, but more mellow.
How was it ever sold on shelves? I don't.
At GNC, right?
Yeah, fuck, I don't even know. And how did I not know this? I was in bodybuilding then. That was the early 90s.
I was probably 13 when people were selling. They probably were 15 at that time when it was out.
I was 20.
I remember seeing it on the shelves though. They at GNC too. Not knowing what it was, but I knew about it. I knew the name, There was GHB and then there was HMB. So it's for all I knew, there was similar stuff. You know what I mean?
I remember HMB, but that was supposed to make you bigger. If it was going to make you bigger, then I knew about it. But GHB wasn't going to do that. It was more party, and I didn't party.
Yeah.
I didn't drink. So, I mean, those things wouldn't have been appealing to me. But there's also benefits, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know much about it. I'll be honest. I just don't because it's not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
It's something that increases. First, I guess it can cut your sleep time down to 4 or 5 hours a night because you just don't need sleep. Your growth hormone production apparently is huge on GHB.
But at the same time, your cortisol levels go way through the roof. So I think it balances everything out.
Oh.
At least that's what I've learned. I don't know personally. That's not research that I discovered or something.
Okay, now I'm not a drug guy, so I've heard of Molly. So what is that? Is it ecstasy? What is Molly?
Same thing.
Huh?
Same thing.
Molly is ecstasy?
Yeah, MDMA.
MDMA? Okay.
Huh. Well, we're learning stuff. The guy that I knew that was using GHB, he was using it while we trained.
No shit.
Yeah. Do you hear
What's the benefit to that?
Yeah, Scott, do you know?
Because they think it increases GH release and increases muscle growth, everything, but it doesn't work. Trust me, I know. I know somebody who knows.
Does it increase GH production at all?
It does a little bit, but then the cortisol goes up, like Scott said.
So it's kind of, what would you compare it to for GH release? MK?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know the. No, probably not. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? It's a good analogy to. It's the same guy that does that. The same guy that does Nubane on leg days. Does that kind of tell you what it is? I mean, that's kind of where you're at.
That does it.
So this
guy, he's doing it on non-leg days, and then he's doing it on every day.
This guy, I'll tell you. His name was Don. I'm not going to say his last name, although he's dead now, so it really doesn't matter.
Don Long.
He was my training partner. I was training at this Anytime Fitness. He was a mixed martial arts fighter, and he was the mixed martial arts fighter that you would the stereotype. This was early 2000s, so he had the tap out close. He had a nose that was sideways to his face, cauliflower ears, completely shaved head, and his neck was thicker than his head was. You know what I mean? He was a thick dude. And he was thinking about competing. I was getting ready for my first show, and we're training. We started training together. He worked at Anytime Fitness that I went to, and I'd get up there and train early in the morning and stuff. I'd do my cardio early, and he was acting weird one day, and I didn't know why. I wrote it off. Another day he'd be fine. Next day he'd be weird again. And I couldn't figure it out. And sometimes he'd be weirder than others. Sometimes it'd be we weren't even talking when we trained. He just was really pushing. Anyway, one day I came in to do some cardio, and he was working with a personal training client. Personal training client left kind of in a weird space. She walked out, wasn't smiling, didn't say bye to anybody. She just left. And I finished my cardio, and I walk over to Don sitting in the office. And he's slurring his speech, and my thought is not he's on drugs. My thought is is this guy having a stroke right now?
Right.
You know what I mean? Is he stroking out? This is bad. And he's slurring his speech, and then he kind of like go unconscious, and then he come back to, and then he'd like start talking again, and I'm like, what's going on, man? He's like, no, I'm fine. And then finally he went out, and he was just out cold. And I started, like, I shook him a little bit. Nothing happened. I was like, oh, fuck. Am I going to have to do, like, some sort of mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Like, this is getting serious. 7 a.m., I'm at this gym, and there's no one else there. He's the only guy on staff. There's another trainer there, and I close him in the office, lock him in there, or didn't mean to, but the door locked when I closed the door. So he's locked in, and it's one of those gym offices that have windows, so you could still see him in there. And
so you could watch him die after
right
in the room. Okay.
Right. Huh? And I go over
your trainer, Scott McNally.
I go over to the personal trainer that's there. He's there all the time, and I'm like, hey, I was like, something's wrong with Don. And he was like, he uses GHB, right? I was like, what? No, I didn't know that. And he was like, yeah, he's got a problem with it. And I was like, well, what should we do? Because he apparently looked like he's overdosing. And I had gotten in recovery at this point. And in my life, I've seen people pass away. And so I thought this could happen right now. So I called 911. 911 comes out, and I open the door for them because you can't get in the locked gym without a key pass, key fob. I open the door, and the first thing the guy says to me is, he says, bald guy, about 40 years old. I was like, yeah, how did you know? He was like, this isn't the first time we've been here.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I guess that was like the third time that happened. And they said I can't remember how they got in the office, but they got in the office, and they're like, it's good that you didn't try to wake him up because he gets real violent when you do. Like, he's one of those guys that, like, you wake him up and he just starts swinging. So, yeah, that was the story. He was a crazy dude. Him and his girlfriend. I shouldn't tell that story because people might know who he was. I don't want to put her on the spot about going to Tijuana and getting supplements and their whole adventures. But they were a crazy couple. That's my GHB story, I guess.
Damn.
Yeah. And
your friends are more fun than mine.
I stopped training with him after that. I went to another gym. He got fired, and I had gotten a membership at Powerhouse, Farmington Hills, which was the new world headquarters at the time. So I ended up meeting a whole bunch of new cool people there, and ended up doing my first show. No, Rick Romeo, he's long gone.
Oh, okay. He was long gone before they opened Farmington? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about,
how did
he
was
die?
around then.
He
was around then.
I cut you off. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, he was around then. Rick Romeo was around then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So everybody wants to know, myself included, how did Don fucking die then?
Liver failure, alcohol. He was.
How old was he?
He had to be by around like 40, early 40s.
Damn. All right.
Yeah. Rough life, rough dude, But he was a good guy though in a lot of ways. But I was new to recovery. I didn't want to be around people like that. You know what I mean? It's like I couldn't be around people using drugs and stuff. Where'd Scott go? Is he even over there anymore?
Yeah. Apparently the sun has gone down in Texas.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
That's all we got. You guys got anything going on where this is holiday weekend, Memorial Day? Skip, you're doing something with the family. Everybody's sick though, right?
No, everybody was sick.
Oh.
No, we're all good now. That was early last week, so I had to kind of cram to make up my days and trained over the weekend. But we're off tomorrow, and my wife doesn't work, and of course my daughter doesn't have to go to school. So we'll hang out. We'll go to the beach.
Nice.
We'll chill, that sort of thing. It's starting to get hot as balls, I guess, if that's a term to tell how hot weather is.
So you were telling us at the beginning you don't train on the weekends, but you did train today. Is that so you don't train tomorrow, or what?
Well, it was just because I got behind earlier in the week, and I didn't want to go. When I don't train, I don't diet. So
I know what you mean. Yeah,
I did, and I ended up really what my situation was I was exhausted. I ended up that last day sleeping almost 13 hours. I got up at 7:00 at night.
Wow.
And then I felt like $1 million. But I picked up. I decided I was going to start on a Thursday and get my rotation in for the weekend. I'm glad that I did. So it did allow me, because I did that, to take Monday off, where normally I wouldn't have Monday off. So it works out well.
Nice. Scott, you got any big plans for tomorrow for Memorial Day itself?
I'm going to run a marathon in the morning. It's 24 yards instead of 24 miles. And, I'm going to go to this barbecue thing, and that's about it.
Nice.
What you doing, Scott?
I have no plans. Victoria's
What about
here.
your hot girlfriend?
She's here.
Spend time with her?
Oh, she said hi, by the way. I forgot to tell you guys
Hi.
that. Yeah,
Hi.
Not to you. She said hi to me. Just sit there in the dark and be quiet. She doesn't even know who you are.
Hey, Victoria. What are you wearing?
So we're having fun. She's been here for about 3 weeks now. So
Well, tell her I said hi because I think
I
she's
will.
awesome.
Thank you.
And it's funny because you smile so much more since she's been around.
I do. I'm happy.
True.
You're not
true.
the only one to say that. A lot of people have told me that.
Oh, it's very, very clear, really.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. It feels good.
Yep.
It feels good.
I'm so happy for you, Scott. I'm getting giddy. I'm getting emotional right now. I can't help it.
Why do I not
Can we
believe
end the
that?
show? Can we end
Just
the
cut
show?
his mic. Fucking useless at this point anyway.
All right. Yeah. We had a good show, though. We had a lot of good questions. Great listener participation. Thank you, guys, everybody who's been watching. Much appreciated. Thank you for your questions. If you guys want to participate, you can go over to the forum. That's forum.advisorsradio.com. In the bodybuilding section, we have threads that are stickied at the top. Of course, we took all these questions from the Blood, Sweat, and Gear thread with S2H and Skip Hill. You guys can go to teamskip.com to get a hold of Skip and give him shit about stuff, because apparently that's what we all did today, was gave Skip a bunch of shit, but he took it like a champion. Guys, go to, TrueNutrition.com. That's our sponsor. You can use our code ADVICES. Pick up some Team Skip protein while you're there. S2H, Skip Hill. I'm Scott McNally. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
Out.